Welcome to my favorite place to go backpacking in all of America, Western Wyoming's Wind River Mountains. This incredible mountain range is protected by nearly 1 million acres of official wilderness under the names of 4 different contiguous wilderness areas. Within these wilderness boundaries are an amazing estimated 4,000 lakes and ponds, nearly 1,000 miles of wilderness rivers and streams, the largest intermountain glacial system in the entire lower 48 states, hundreds and hundreds of some of America's most beautiful mountains, and over 1,000 miles of trails to explore on foot or horseback. This wilderness complex is without a doubt one of the crown jewels of the American wilderness preservation system, where opportunities for exploration on and off trail, solitude, and high adventure can seem almost endless. This was my fourth backpacking trip to the Wind River Mountains, and I know it will be far from my last. As for my 14-year-old daughter, well, she had done a couple of overnighters when she was younger, and she's got plenty of experience with camping, but this would be her first multi-day deep wilderness backpacking excursion. And what better place to introduce her to that world than Wyoming's Wind River Mountains? Arriving on a Monday, we passed a number of large horseback riding outfits on their way out of the wilderness, and after a quick 5 or 6 miles with lengthening shadows from the approaching sunset, we needed to find a campsite. And we found a pretty nice one, right next to an unnamed pond, high on a ridge overlooking the Continental Divide. We would name this pond Horse Pond the next day for the beautiful horses that we saw stopping for a drink in the morning hour light. Our second day in the winds would take us the rest of the way to our base camp destination area. Another 5 or 6 mostly downhill miles on this day would wind us around several small subalpine lakes until we finally reached the inlet of a much larger lake. After fording the clear and shallow waters of the beautiful inlet stream, we did find a very nice campsite. We also dismantled that campsite and continued on when another group of backpackers showed up and set up nearby. We were looking for solitude, so that just wasn't going to do. A mile further down, off trail through rough terrain and crossing the outlet stream, we eventually found our Shangri-La, one of the most beautiful backcountry campsites I've ever seen. With the sun dropping behind the trees, it was time to catch our dinner, which was a necessity because we had decided to rely on catching trout for dinner for the next 4 nights. But in the Wind River Mountains, that's really not a problem. It didn't take long for me to catch a nice 16-inch brook trout. Oh, God, come on, come on, come on. Woo!
Yeah. Awesome.
And as our good fortune continued, as I was cleaning our fish, we discovered an existing fire ring tucked into a rock alcove just below our tent, complete with a perfectly placed and sized piece of flat slate. The recipe was simple: a fire-heated rock, a little drizzle of olive oil, a little dab of butter, and a little sprinkle of shake and bake seasoning, and we had one of the best backcountry meals of fresh caught trout that I can remember. This pattern would be repeated for the rest of our trip. We had no problem at all catching fish here. We caught big brookies out of the lake and smaller pan-sized ones out of the stream, keeping only what we needed for dinner.
that said she was a vegetarian, but she ate fish. And when the person asked her about it, it just says, fish aren't animals, they're mammals.
What? Sunshine greeted us once again the next day, another one of those beautifully clear mountain mornings. We got up and we made breakfast, and then we decided to do a little bit of exploring. So we ventured down the outlet stream over ledges of rock towards where we knew there was another lake. But it was about halfway to that other lake where we found our true paradise, the place that we would spend hours and hours over the next couple of days. This amazing place was nameless on the map, as is so common with so many of the hidden gems in the Wind River Mountains, so we gave it our own name. We called it Big Rock Rapid.
So you think all these pieces of rock here came off of that one boulder?
At least a few of them.
Yeah. It looks like that pointy one kind of sheaked off the side there.
I think it did.
I just think it's so interesting how that big one just stopped right there.
Yeah. So the big, pointy, orange slice shaped one. You see the one right below it?
Uh-huh.
What I think happened, the boulder fell, and those two pieces broke off in one piece, and that one fell and hit the bottom, and the bottom one broke off.
Yeah, it looks like it. It looks like they go together.
Yeah.
It's like a water slide right here. You could probably slide down it. It'd be a bit bumpy though. If you had a tube, that would work.
Day 5 in the wilderness. After another beautiful sunny morning and a final couple of hours spent at Big Rock Rapid, it was finally time for us to pack up camp at Shangri-La and head home. The weather finally turned a bit on our 11-mile hike out. We got some cold rain and even some wet snowflakes on this first day of August. But the moody skies and cooler temperatures made for great hiking weather, and it was a relief to see some moisture returning to these beautiful mountains. I reflected on our long hike out that this backpacking trip was not one of the more difficult ones that I've done. We didn't crush big miles, climb any peaks, or even any passes. We didn't even head into the most spectacular parts of the Wind River Mountains. It was actually a lot like my very first backpacking trip when I was 11 years old, way back in 1985. We hiked in 7 miles into the Wyoming Wilderness and spent 5 amazing days by a lake. We just hung out at camp, did a lot of fishing, exploring our lake, and just had a great time. Just as I fondly remember those days on 4 Mile Lake in the Wyoming Wilderness in Colorado, I know that now my daughter will remember Shangri-La Camp and Big Rock Rapid for the rest of her days. And just as it does for me, when life gets a little hard sometimes, she'll be able to find solace and grounding by thinking of those wonderful days, and that is one of the many reasons why wilderness preservation is so incredibly important.
Good?
Good.
Can I stop recording now?
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
talk.